A while back, I used to work for this college, and I had a coworker, a woman coworker, who we used to really, be cool or whatever. And we had a new supervisor, and he was a guy, and he was what heterosexual women consider to be very attractive black guy, and he was a real nice guy. We actually had a great time while on the team while he was our supervisor. But I remember she had a crush on him, and it was another girl on the team that liked him as well. Pretty much all the women on the floor thought he was just the the finest man ever. And one day my coworker asked me, why you don't ever look at him, and why you don't ever talk to us about how cute he is? And I was kind of taken aback when she said this. And the reason why is because I was literally out at work. I identify as a lesbian. So it was kind of odd that because she knew I was a lesbian, it wasn't like we were best friends or anything like that, but we were close coworkers. So when she asked me, why am I not fawning over the tall, black, dark, and handsome man, I had reminded her that I have a girlfriend, because at the time I had a girlfriend, and she was looking puzzled. And she is a heterosexual woman, but she looked really puzzled at my statement. And it was interesting. I learned something about that experience, that heterosexual women and lesbian women, although we are women, we are very different. And our differences are not right or wrong, but they are different. And it requires communication and maturity in order to be able to understand people who are different from you. And it also requires for you to step out of yourself and not be so self absorbed with thinking that everybody should act and think and feel the same way as you do. My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author, and the title of this video is Lesbians Do Not Think Like Heterosexual Women. We absolutely don't. And that's fine. But what I've noticed is many heterosexual women, they expect for you to think like them and basically maneuver like them in life. So anytime they are in association with a woman who does not identify as heterosexual, it's like a culture shock for them. They have to think about and process everything that the woman who is identifying as lesbian speaks to them about. And in that scenario where I explained with the previous uh, college I used to work for a long time ago, when she was shocked that I wasn't in love with this guy on the job, for one, he was our supervisor. So I didn't believe in mixing business with pleasure, and I still stand on that principle. But secondly, I identify as a lesbian. And thirdly, I was actually out on the job. So the team knew I was gay. Everybody knew I was gay. But still, this coworker still could not fathom that I was not attracted to this man. Everybody liked him. He was a cool guy. He was actually one of my best supervisors that I've ever had in the work industry. And he was actually very inclusive. He was aware that I was a lesbian, and he was not a homophobic man. And he was a black man. And that's actually something that is really rare for people to be accepting. And I'm not just referring to just lesbians, as he was also accepting of gay men, just LGBTQ people. We had a very inclusive team environment, and that's really important. Nowadays, we need inclusion in the work environment. And we need it because people still do not understand or really process that people identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or LGBTQ. They do not really fathom that people are not heterosexual. But we are here and we exist. And everybody has to make a decision for themselves how they represent themselves at work. If you are not in a work environment that is what they deem as LGBTQ friendly, if they do not have any type of policy and procedures that they uphold that do not condone homophobia, or they do not condone discrimination towards LGBTQ people or people who are trans. So they do not condone any type of discrimination or hatred towards sexual orientation or gender identity. And that is very important, but it's not enough. And the reason why it's not enough is because people understand that they don't need to be verbally disrespectful towards lesbian, gay, LGBTQ people because they know they will get in trouble on the job. But what is lacking, not just in the work environment, but in pretty much any social environment, what is lacking is open communication about people who identify as lesbian, gay, or LGBTQ. And because there is a disregard, there is the missing element of educating people socially about non-heterosexuality. People remain to be clueless about us, and they really don't understand how we think and how we move. So as a lesbian woman, even though my former coworker knew I had a girlfriend, she even seen pictures of my girlfriend at that time. She knew I was a lesbian. She even was an accepting person. She honestly was accepting. She wasn't, well, let me be honest. She was she was a type of straight woman who was accepting of lesbians, but she was not accepting of gay men. She did not believe that men should be gay, and she actually had a son, and she shared with me that her son seemed to be leaning towards being gay because she said he was very feminine, and she had an issue with it. She wasn't being mean towards her son, but she did explain to me that she hopes that her son will be straight or heterosexual. So there's a lot of dynamics there that you have to unpack, and many of this won't be resolved in just one conversation. It just is impossible to be resolved in one conversation. And depending on the environment you in, you can be limited on the type of conversations you have. For example, in the work setting, it says there's three main topics they do not want you to discuss on the job, and that is religion, politics, and sex. So those are the three big conversations that you should not have. Of course, people do have them anyway, but the interesting thing is we live in a heteronormative society, and they will never have conversations about LGBTQ people. All the conversations are focused on how heterosexuality is the norm and heterosexual relationships. It just goes on and on from that perspective, but it never there's never moments where you can just really feel or believe that everyone knows really about you as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or LGBTQ person. And I don't mean that everybody should know all the details of your life, but we do need to be acknowledged because who we are is important. Our lives are just as important as heterosexual people's lives in any type of social setting and environment, whether it's work and especially at home, because many of us can't even discuss something as simple as just saying that I'm a lesbian or I'm gay or I'm bisexual or I'm trans. Many of us are not able to even just say who we are without getting some type of conflict resulting from just saying who you are, which is very tragic and it's toxic, it's painful, and it is a social illness. Being someone who identifies as a lesbian, it's important for me to always think about my life from a lesbian perspective. Because if I do not, then I can, in a sense, get caught up in heterosexual norms. And you can get away from being your true, authentic self. Even though you know consciously that you are lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBTQ, if you find yourself always just speaking about heterosexual relationships, for example, then you may end up emulating a heterosexual relationship. And it's because you're not actually focusing on what you truly desire and what you really need. And if you don't do that for yourself, then you can just imagine people on the outside, whoever that is, they're definitely not going to know anything about you. So, me personally, when I know I'm in a safe environment, when I'm around people who I believe that are open minded or willing to learn, they're teachable, I say who I am. And who I am is a lesbian. I don't introduce myself like, hi, I'm a lesbian. But in everyday conversations with people who you are in close proximity with, over time, you get to know each other. And I don't hide that I'm a lesbian. And if I do hide it, or if I am ashamed of who I am, then I can't expect someone who is heterosexual to understand me or even accept me. But when I'm confident in who I am and I know who I am, I've noticed heterosexual people, they ask me more questions about myself because there are heterosexual people who want to learn more about lesbian and LGBTQ people. But in many cases, they don't always feel like comfortable to ask questions because they don't want to offend you, or they just don't know that you identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or LGBTQ. So the conversations never happen. But regarding lesbians and heterosexual women, we are different from each other and we have to communicate with each other even deeper than just saying I'm a lesbian, because they understand what the word lesbian means, but they don't know what your life is like on a daily basis because they are used to their own life as a heterosexual. So we have to be able to discuss our differences and not feel like that is unsafe to do or that it's awkward to do. Because if you do not do it, then we really cannot expect for other people to know about ourselves. We desire to be known. We desire to have relationships with people. And the only way for us to really relate to one another is through communication and through knowledge. And we have to be patient. We have to think outside of the box. And we need to avoid being self absorbed. And many people are, in a sense, stuck in their ways, or they may fear learning about someone who is gay or lesbian or LGBTQ because it goes against their traditional upbringing. And so some people feel like as long as they don't know about it, it does not exist. Unfortunately, a lot of heterosexual people think like that and operate like that. If they don't know about it, then it does not exist. But those type of people, you don't want to associate with anyway. They're not going to try to get to know you anyway. So don't even waste your time with someone like that. But you need to be responsible for yourself and you need to be self aware. And the only way that you can really be yourself and allow other people to get to know the real you is they also have to be self aware. And being self aware means that you pay attention to your thoughts, you pay attention to your reactions and your behavior, and you think about, why do I think like this? Why am I behaving like this? Why do I feel like this? What is causing these complex feelings? And you have to think through it and process it. And once you do that, you become self-aware. So it allows you to be more flexible, and it also allows you to be more patient and accepting of other people. Most people are not self-aware. So you're going to deal with people who either refuse to learn about other people, or they will try to change other people to think like them. And I'm not interested in anyone changing me because I'm already who I am. And I really can't be changed. The only thing I can do is just deny myself and refuse to accept myself as a lesbian. But I've already experienced what that's like, and that's not fun. So I take on the responsibility of being self aware, being conscious at all times, and always doing what I like to do and acknowledging myself and engaging with people who are willing to learn about me because I like learning about other people. So I like to be around people who like learning about me. So even though lesbian women think differently from heterosexual women, it doesn't mean it has to be an obstacle. We can move past the obstacle if we are willing to do so. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share my content. Thank you for listening. I am a certified lesbian life coach and author. If you want a life coach session, please reach out to me. All of my contact information is here on YouTube in the description box. And you have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe.